Hey, what is up guys, MKBHD here, and better late than never, HTC 10 final verdict. As a smartphone, this is a really good phone. So you probably already knew that, but after using this phone for the past couple weeks, I kind of realized it surprised me how underrated it is. It's just really good at a lot of things, and I think most anyone would agree it's the complete package. So it pretty much nails everything you look for in a flagship smartphone. So the build, it nails that. This phone is all metal all the way around, so anytime you're holding it, you're touching metal, which is awesome. And the sides are also pretty flat, which is important. So even though it's kind of a chunky phone, it's easy to hold. And then for looks, it has this big chamfer all the way around the edges of the rounded back. And that really characterizes this device. So there's plenty of other metal devices, but the chamfer color, it sort of changes as it catches the light from different angles. So it's really nice. It's like classic HTC. Hey, you know what the most underrated piece of hardware that actually really makes a smartphone is? Good buttons. Seriously. And the HTC 10 has great buttons. A textured, clicky power button, and a separate, very tactile, clicky volume rocker. So a good grade for both of those. The only knock I have on the build is that it's not IP68 water resistant, but it is still IP53 technically, so it can handle a misting just fine. Now, the display. It also pretty much nails that. So you're working with a 5.2-inch Quad HD Super LCD display. It looks good as you'd expect, pretty vibrant and color accurate. Not the brightest thing in the world, but just barely visible in outdoor sunlight, and it looks great and sharp everywhere else. The speakers. This was an interesting point compared to previous HTC phones because those were legendary for boom sound front-facing speakers. Here on the HTC 10, we have two speakers, one larger driver on the bottom for low and mid frequencies, and then another one up in the earpiece at the top in the cutout for high frequencies. And they work together sort of like a woofer and a tweeter pair. It sounds pretty good. It's definitely way better than the worst speakers out there, so that's good, but it's still no front-facing stereo pair, which is what I got used to from HTC in the past, and even other devices now like my Nexus 6P. Now, obviously, this isn't a big deal to some people. Plenty of people will use headphones anyway, which are great with this phone, but it's something to note. This is a pretty middle-of-the-road speaker setup. The specs, yeah, of course it nailed those. Snapdragon 820 chip, Adreno 550 GPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and as a bonus, expandable storage. So there's a SIM card tray on one side, and the other side, a micro SD card slot for those that cherish that. Kind of glad these made a comeback in 2016. And in the performance department, this phone has stayed fast. I kind of mentioned in the first impressions video that it felt quick. Obviously, that's right out the box. But responsiveness was on point, and this is something HTC worked on a lot with their new software. And I've had no slowdowns with day-to-day use with this guy. So opening and closing apps is quick, multitasking is quick, and a lot of the normal in-between stuff feels so quick and snappy because the animations are shortened a lot. In fact, just the software in general on this phone, Sense 8, is now one of my favorite skins I've seen on Android to date in a long time. It's pretty close to stock Android in look and feel, and I like that, not just because it's stockish, but because it's good, and just that one extra level of customization beyond a CyanogenMod ROM or something, so you have HTC's theme store and a couple extra features here and there, and hardware optimizations, but still a mostly stock feel, so I dig it. Removing duplicate apps to clean the app drawer and make things less confusing was a good move, and not overloading the phone with a whole bunch of weird features and gestures and stuff was also a good move. Keeps things simple. Top all of that off with a 3000 milliamp hour battery, and you're looking at pretty consistently smooth performance that actually lasts a whole day. I'm a lot happier with, again, the battery life of flagship phones this year too. This HTC 10 is getting me my 4.5 hours of screen on time and has great standby, so pretty much matches the Galaxy S7, if a little bit short. And I almost never use any of the power saving features, so I'm happy about that. The one place that I'd say that this phone is kind of lacking is the camera. I'm not recommending this phone to anyone just for the camera, so if you're a person who takes a lot of photos or a lot of videos and is really into the camera, this isn't your number one choice. It's probably top 10, but it's not the best. So if that's what you're looking for, then this is not your phone. HTC 10 is rocking a 12 megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, LED flash, and laser autofocus. All good specs on paper. Image quality wise, it's just above average, so you can see from the shots I've taken, you can definitely get really good photos and 4K videos out of this phone, no question, especially in good light, so color accuracy is solid, nothing's too over sharpened or over saturated too, which is cool. And then with the f1.8 aperture, you can also get that nice shallow depth of field and blurred background if you want. And then that also helps, of course, a lot, combining with OIS to do a little bit better than average in low light. It still breaks down, but you get the idea. I think it tends to err on the side of overexposure. Definitely has a bit more blown out highlights than crushed shadows usually, but since it's doing auto HDR so quickly, dynamic range is also pretty good. I'd put it in the top few cameras on smartphones for sure, but again, the Galaxy S7s and iPhones of the world are going to take better photos for sure. Overall, HTC 10 gets a lot of the little things right. Stuff like the expandable storage, like I mentioned, it's a nice bonus for people who take a lot of videos and photos or have a lot of music. The fingerprint sensor is also a nice touch. It's pretty quick. Not the quickest, it's behind Touch ID and I'd say Samsung and Huawei, but top 5 for sure. And things like the super high quality DAC, this smartphone will actually drive your higher powered headphones, and those who pay attention will notice the great audio from the headphone jack of this guy. There's also AirPlay support right out the box on HTC 10, that's a first for any Android phone, so it has a lot going for it. So at the end of the day, like we said, this HTC 10 is a really good phone. And it's not perfect by any means, it definitely still has its quirks, what you might consider flaws, but it checks pretty much all the boxes and it does most of what you would expect out of a flagship smartphone. So the beauty, the power, and the nice clean OS. I think it'll be even more interesting later this year now that we're expected to see, at least the rumors point to, an HTC-made Nexus phone coming out later this year. And then that should take a lot of the design cues from this phone. But we'll reserve judgment until we see that. That's basically it for this review. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.